All right, this is the Bible Ranger here. We're going to talk about Should Christians Prep, Part 1, Episode 18. So we want to get you from Christians being unprepared to being prepared. All right, now things are heating up out there. And normally, we have regular tornadoes, and we have hurricanes, and we have floods, and we have fires and these snowstorms that happen throughout the United States. That's one thing to be prepared for. Other things are like social unrest, like in this top right picture here. And you have BLM, you have Antifa, and they're causing all kinds of riots. And of course, they're getting paid, the leaders are, by Soros. And we've talked about that in other episodes. But they also threaten to come to suburban areas. So that's one thing we want to keep in mind. We have the election in less than 2 months. So if we have Trump winning here, if he wins, the Democrats have made it clear that they will not secede. So they're going to keep fighting it in court until they win. This is what they've said. And this is obvious because since Trump's election, there were all types of accusations from the Russians and other things that they actually try to impeach him, and it has never really stopped. Okay, they're going to continue this if Trump wins. So social unrest might continue for a while. Now, if the Democrats win, we all know that Biden is not healthy. Okay, Camila she'll be the president, and she's against the Second Amendment. She's made it very clear. Sequence of videos. This is what I had in mind when I started doing the videos. I wanted us Christians to think about how should we act at COVID-19, not just thinking about ourselves, but think about other people and how the Christians did it way back in the 1st and 2nd century. I gave those examples in that first video. Also, there was a couple of volumes there of who controls the world. In Ephesians, the Bible talks about we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities in high places. So the real problem is spiritual, but the spiritual use people in the physical world. We also talked about getting out of debt and staying healthy, because if you're not in debt, you can do a lot more things with church, missionaries, helping other people, and staying healthy. That way you don't have to be part and depending so much on the system. And I think, in my opinion, I believe Satan's making a move. This is not the first time he's tried to make a move. He's tried it several times through the centuries. I believe he's always prepared to put a type of Antichrist on the throne, but most times he has failed. He also tried it in World War II. That was another time where he could have been successful, but he wasn't. And God is sovereign. He's going to know when he's going to do it, but he doesn't know. Satan doesn't know. So he always has to be prepared for his Antichrist. So I'm saying, is just be ready. That's all I'm saying. Now, should Christians prep? Some Christians don't believe in prepping. They believe it's a lack of faith. And it seems to me that the Western church, like North America, Canada, the UK, they have this mindset that when things get really crazy, I'm out of here. The rapture is happening, so I don't have to worry about all this. So why do I have to prep? Now, we have some examples in the Bible about prepping, okay? And we have the ultimate prepper, which is Noah. And depending which theologian you read, I've always said about 100 years, but they can go as low as 50 years to build the ark, up to 100 years to build the ark. And of course, he had to make rooms in that ark. He had to prep the food. He had to bring the animals in. And that was a lot of prepping, okay? And of course, he was preaching to the people, trying to convince them to come with him. But none of them did except him and his family. Second example, Joseph. Joseph had a dream that God gave him, and 7 years of plenty to prepare. And God made him second in charge after Pharaoh. And not only did he help the nation of Israel survive, he also was a great key in that era for the prosperity of Egypt. And then 7 years of famine came, and that's where they pulled all the ropes. They had all the control, and Egypt became very wealthy. Now in Proverbs 21:20, I shortened this right here because of lack of room, but basically it says that the wise, they have choice food and oil, which is like olive oil, for their household, while the foolish They eat it all up. They spend it all up. Okay, so the Bible is for this. Continuing this, should Christians prep? Some Christians have the mindset that if you prep, you're lacking in faith. So how far do we want to take this? For example, Noah built the ark to save his family and animals. Okay, and even though he had the faith, his faith was put into works. So Christians who live in Tornado Alley, do they not build shelters like this one here? Is it lack of faith to build a shelter? Should Christians have life insurance? Should Christians have health insurance? Is that lack of faith? So how far do you want to go with this? In James chapter 2, verses 14 to 26, it talks all about faith without works is dead. So for example, you see somebody who's starving, hungry, and you don't say, I'll pray for you. You give them a sandwich and you pray for them. I mean, you got your faith and your works have to coincide together. Now, having the correct mindset of prepping. Number one, prep what you eat and eat what you prep. For example, oatmeal. Okay, an oatmeal, it sounds like a great thing to prep, and it should. It's not a bad idea, but a lot of people don't like oatmeal. You have to have the sugar or honey or dry fruits to make it actually taste good. Number two, think of others. It's not just your family. Think about your community, your friends, your extended family. Number three, think essentials. Think protection, think food, think water, think hygiene, medical, and energy. And I like your opinion, your ideas. What works for you? You know, when you had a crisis and you've lost power, what works for you? And I can add it to my next videos coming up. Tell me if this is something that actually interests you. And like I said before, it's not about hoarding. It's about planning and preparing your family and others. And this is a good time to witness. What about Corrie ten Boom? If she didn't have any money, if she didn't have means, she couldn't have helped those Jews that came over to her house. Somebody had to feed them. Somebody had to, take care of them. And so being out of debt, being healthy is really important, okay? Has nothing to do with your salvation, but you can be more useful. You have less limitations on you. That's all. Just because you have limitations does not mean that God cannot use you. But I'm just saying you're free to do other things. And this is here a little example of 1 week of prepping, like a pantry. 1 month, that looks excessive. And this is a year. This is like kits you buy. And you can buy, they come like wrapped, ready to eat meals. And over here is self-sustaining. That's a whole subject in itself. And you also have different levels out there. Different levels, like I say, the first level is like disasters. And another level would be like civil unrest. And then you would have another level of economic collapse. And of course, we're not there. I'm just saying, could it happen? Yes, just to be ready. That's all. All right, how much should we prep? A minimum of 2 weeks of food for emergencies, but 1 or 2 months is better if the level of the emergency increases. That sounds reasonable, doesn't it? It's not a bad idea to prep if things are going to the next level. Like if you live in Florida, let's say, or those states where hurricane is really prominent, you notice that the hardware stores, the supermarkets, they're cleaned out. Okay, if you don't want to fight with those people in a time where disasters are happening, you want to be relaxed, you want to be out of there, and you prep slowly. Get a feeling of your community to assess their mindset of attitudes. You might have a neighbor where it says like, your stuff is better than my stuff. And that's another category you might have to put him in. Now, this is really important, okay? Let's get this straight. If you're being persecuted for your faith, for example, if some Muslim terrorist is coming to me and they say, you deny Jesus Christ, I'm going to say, no, you go ahead and kill me. I'm not going to deny Jesus Christ. If they tell you, are you taking the mark? No, I'm not taking the mark. You go ahead and kill me. This is where you should be when it comes to decisions of faith. But when it comes to protection of your family, it is your responsibility, especially the males here, to protect your family. Obviously, you're a single parent, you're the head of household, you protect your family. Everybody knows that. Moms are mama bears anyway. But Gerald Celente, he has a saying that says this: when people have nothing left to lose, they lose, and they lose everything, they lose it. And what he means is they go crazy. And people that are nice neighbors now, when things get really bad, they turn crazy, okay? And it'd be nice to say, calm down, John, calm down, Mary. I can help you out. Here's a week's worth of food. Here's something for 2 days. It'd be nice to do that. All right, so what are the most important items? Now, when it comes, food and water are great when it comes to natural disasters, but you need protection if society breaks down, okay? Because people go crazy, like we talked about before. And let me clarify this. I'm not advocating violence in any way, but I am saying that you have a responsibility to protect your family, and you know that. Let me give you a little bit of training here on some of the guns. These here are automatic weapons, and depending on the type of weapon, it can be difficult to pull this back sometimes, depending if you're a small lady, if you're an older person. Now, the top gun here is a revolver. And all you got to do is point and shoot that, especially when you pull the hammer back in the back here. It's very easy to pull the trigger. Down here, this weapon that the media likes to demonize is called an AR-15. It is the equivalent to a military M16, and it's a very easy weapon to use. Even small ladies in the military can use this weapon. It doesn't matter who it is. We all have this one here. So it's a very easy weapon to operate. And saying that is, make sure your children don't have access to this. Okay, as they get older, you should train them to use it too. Depending, young adolescent, whatever. But the point is, we're always dealing with dangerous stuff. Even the electricity in your house. If you were to blow out your hair while you're in the tub, obviously you would get electrocuted. But you don't have any worry about plugging things in and pulling things out, because you know not to put your hands in the prongs in the back. So just like you just need proper training, you also need proper training with the right guns. Also, in Genesis 14:14, when Abraham found out that Lot was taken captive, Abraham assembled 318 people of his relatives that were trained, and they rescued Lot. They got his family back, and they got all the spoils back. That was very successful, but they had to use violence in that case. Also, Matthew 24:44. That chapter is a chapter about the second coming of the Lord, which we will be talking about that in the future. But this particular verse here, verse 44, is an example on if the responsible household person wasn't there, the thief can come in and ravage the house. But so it points to us that somebody is protecting the house. I'm just letting you know. And I forgot to mention down here, ammo. With the weapons, you need ammo, or else the weapons are kind of useless without the ammo. And one of the other most important items, you have personal hygiene and you have safety. That includes the first aid kits, which everybody should have that. You should have oral hygiene. It's very important, very cheap. When your teeth hurt, everything hurts. Have extra toothbrushes, have toothpaste, and if you can, get fluoride-free toothpaste. And we'll talk about that in the near future, more health stuff. Also, tarps. Tarps, very important, multiple uses. And I should mention with that, you should have like parachute cord. It's a very small cord, about 1/8 of an inch thick. That also has multiple uses too. Well, we can mention that in the future too. Now they have these 2 survival books that seem to be very beneficial. This is an Army one here. This one's from 2010. But I don't know if there's newer versions than that, but that's still good. This one, for what I understand, is from the military fighting force of the UK. So it's also very good. Prepping for eternity. This is the most important. The end game. Whether you're prepared or unprepared, in this life, the thing that really counts is to be prepared to meet your Maker. Now, this is where you just have to have faith, because He's done it all for us. Christ died for us. He paid for our sins already. But you have to say, Lord, I don't want to live like this, like the world. I want to live like you. I want to follow you, Lord. And you become a follower of Christ. If you found this video to be, this information to be valuable, please subscribe, pass it along, thumbs up, and tell somebody. Because I have some more prepping. If you think I should add something in there or I missed something, please let me know. All right, now I'll do the best to add it to it. Now this is the Bible Ranger, keeping the Bible simple, yet rich in content. Thank you very much.